Hello and welcome to The Pulse. Thank you to Matt Davies-Adams and Pat Nevin for talking us through the action. Chelsea unfortunately falls to a 1-0 defeat away at Juventus in the Champions League. I'm in the company of Zach Jello, Savage Dan and Mark Schwarzer as well. Mark, disappointing to not get a result, but you know there were chances. We thought we might have nicked a result at the end there with Kai Havertz's header, but unfortunately just wasn't to be this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's about the being clinical at the right end and the right times of games, isn't it? And I think today just weren't good enough at times in front of goal. That little bit of extra edge, taking those chances, and against Juventus, that they're going to be few and far between. We
mentioned that at half-time, Dan, didn't we? That it might take that one split second for something to happen. There were chances. Lukaku had a header, which you think 9 times out of 10 he probably puts in the bottom corner. Kai Havertz header at the end. There was another chance in there for Lukaku. There's a couple of moments that, again, on another day it happens, but you've got to take your chances against the big teams.
Yeah, especially this big team. They are known for having defensive monsters. They are very, very hard to break down. So, in reality, we didn't really have any clear-cut chances. Even the headers are almost half chances because, they guard their defence, their goal very, very well. It's a frustrating game. It is, we tried, we forced it. We had to work very, very hard for every chance that we did get in the end. And it was a bit of a sucker punch.
It's a bit reminiscent, Zach, isn't it, of performances Chelsea have put in. You restrict opposition teams that are very good to very little, and if you're that well defensively set up, you're that very sound of mind to make sure that you play the game and the occasion in the correct way, like Juventus did tonight, you get a result.
Yeah, as you kind of mentioned, similar to our run last season in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid. Real Madrid comes to mind, where we kind of defended fantastically, don't give the opposition any chances, and take ours. I think that was it really in this game. Was we probably had 4 chances where we only managed to put, I think, 1 on target, 2 from Kai Havertz, 2 from Lukaku, and it's a bit similar to last season when we weren't taking our chances in games, and we need to be in games like this when you're going to be pressured, and we're going to have more games like this as well throughout the season. The chances that you do get, you need to take.
Absolutely right. Let's have a little look at the game on social then. It started with a good amount of positivity from Chelsea's opening, to be fair. Chelsea all over Juve, 70% possession in the first 15 minutes. Rabiot's pass there sums up their start. Kovacic running midfield, that's from Sam. Love seeing Chelsea comfortable and patient with possession, not going to lie, and that's from Stilo. It's true that there was an element of that, Mark. We said this at half-time, and the boys were saying it feels like in big games like this, you do have to have a certain element of patience, but we also jinxed it a little bit. We said that whenever the first goal goes in, that completely changes the game. And if Juve get the first goal, then it's a completely different animal. And that's kind of what it turned out to be. Patience is all well and good, but you have to be in the game to be patient.
You do. I mean, listen, Chelsea were in the game for the whole of the game, really, let's be honest. And they did run the show for quite long periods of it. We talked about it before, just being that little bit of extra clinical finish on the end of things. Didn't probably create enough chances with all the possession they had at times. I thought were just a little bit too slow sometimes in the transition, allowed Juventus to get back and defend really well. Listen, let's also not forget, Juventus have struggled defensively, and this was a performance of what we're used to seeing many years ago when Allegri was the manager, and they're slowly getting back to that. And today was an incredible performance by Juventus, certainly defensively.
It's a great point, Dan. Like Mark says, we mentioned at half-time, it's a kind of a trademark Allegri performance, but it's not one that we've seen recently. And that's, I suppose, why Chelsea were going into it so confident, without Dybala, and they've not had a great start to the season against Juventus, but no one was going into this taking this lightly.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, it looked like Chelsea were clear favourites. They don't have Ronaldo anymore, no Dybala, no Morata, half a stadium full of fans. It looked on paper like these were the perfect conditions for us to go there and play them. But they dug it out from somewhere. They were resilient. I think we lacked a bit of sharpness, a little bit of directness, and maybe a little bit of belief. We'd get to a certain point of the pitch and it almost felt like there was a glass ceiling where we were happy to kind of go back across the face of their box and not really aim to penetrate. And then, obviously, patience is what you need, but then it doesn't help if you concede a goal 11 seconds into the second half, and that gives them even more to defend for.
No, absolutely right. And we're still seeing partnerships grow, but a lot of people getting very excited over the front two of Lukaku and Havertz link-up. It's something special. It's from Harry. And this one as well, Lukaku and Havertz link-up is easily the best match pair we've seen up top. There is a part of that Zach, isn't there? You've got two players that are so good on the ball that complementing each other. They've got everything between them.
No, 100%, and they've both got an element of silkiness as well to what they do. Kyle, you saw it a couple of times, tried a little back heel, a little flick between himself and Lukaku, and there were a few times where it was very much of a 1-2 going forward, and they were getting through the defence, and then there was another Juventus man behind him, and another one. Once they've gone past 4, there was another 2 more, and yeah, it's the beginning of something really nice. I think we've kind of seen it develop, whether he's been playing as a second striker or on the kind of left side, when Mason's also been on the pitch as well. I mean, Lukaku has so many elements to his game, whether you want him to be a target man or what you want him to link up or run in behind. And I think Kai can kind of also, not necessarily target man, but can also kind of link up in that same kind of way. If something that Romelu is lacking in, Kai can do, and they complement each other really well.
Mark, let me ask you, because there's obviously a lot of competition for places, especially in the front 3. Is it a case of what you see on the training ground in terms of partnerships like that? Do they need game time on the pitch to develop, or is that something that we won't see, but authentically will get more comfortable with each other over the weeks and months?
Well, I think it's a combination, first and foremost. That's obviously the manager's going to make his decision on how things work at training, how players are looking, how sharp they are. But ultimately, you get judged on games. And I think the more games that are played, the more opportunity players get to play together. I mean, Romelu's we all know, is a world-class player, as is Kai Havertz at times. He just hasn't had the consistency yet. He's still trying to find his way, but he showed a lot of really good performances of getting up to the levels of why Chelsea went out and spent a lot of money for him. I think he's a phenomenal player. He's only going to get better. And Lukaku's the same. You just needed a bit more service, the pair of them.
I think that's a very fair point. We know that, and Dan, there's also the aspect that we are missing players tonight. Reece James being one as a wing back. N'Golo Kanté makes any team better, makes a Mount likewise. So that service that Mark's just said about there, perhaps we saw Romelu a little bit frustrated at times, but when you do get those balls in, we see he can make a chance out of half a sniff almost. Yeah,
and they guarded him very, very well. If they had like a shield in front of him, so he couldn't play a straight ball through. Then you've got Bonucci, who's one of the world's best defenders, just on him. They kept that very, very tight. They made sure that they weren't getting any balls through to Lukaku. I felt like we could have had more service, but it's easier said than done, because I feel like the top 3 are all a similar type of player where they kind of want it to feet and then we'll hope that something happens off it, whereas someone like a Werner or even a Mason Mount might attack the space and just drag a few players a little bit more all over the place and maybe provide Lukaku a little bit more opportunities or a little bit more space. But there's just it's so hard to tell.
It is. You're absolutely right. Let's get on to our knee-jerk reaction for this evening then. And I think it only takes a second or 11 in this case to lose a football match. But it's true, Zach, isn't it? We mentioned before about those finer details and those moments that change games. And at half-time we said if it's us that go in front, Juventus have to completely change. If Juventus get the goal, then we know what they're capable of and what they can do. And unfortunately, that moment did come 11 seconds in.
Yeah, I mean, at 0-0, it was kind of like Juventus were at a say, 65, 70% defensive unit. And then the second they went 1-0 up, they went, OK, let's max it out to 100. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. I mean, it's a brilliant touch from Bernardeschi to bring it down and play through Chiesa. Again, Chiesa's a fantastic finish. It's a great goal from Juve. Maybe we were asleep with the half having just started, and then after that they were sitting back. They were more than happy to let us put all the pressure on, dominate them in their half. It's fine because they've got 11 men behind the ball, and then they're bringing off a midfielder for Chiellini, one of this generation's greatest ever centre-backs. And so it kind of says there that they were more, it was very Max Allegri, essentially, in the Champions League. Very Max Allegri. Once you've got your goal, you're happy to go up. And if anything, even if they did concede, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have been too disappointed with taking a point as well, having just faced Chelsea. So yeah, it can take 11 seconds to lose a football match.
Absolutely can. A lot of reaction obviously coming into the goal, which are getting at us on social media. Chelsea sleeping after coming out at half. High IQ pass from Bernardeschi, by the way. An unbelievable pass, wasn't it? Really nice finish as well. Federico Chiesa was just giving Juventus the lead just 10 seconds into the second half against Chelsea. The earliest second half goal Opta have on record in a Champions League match is 2003, 2004. Wow. And this one as well. Went to make 3 Nutella sandwiches and I come back and Chiesa scored. John T tucking away 3. 3 Nutella sandwiches. The carbs in that as well. 3 sandwiches at I mean, Mark, I've heard I've heard some strange diets, and you must have seen a few in your career over a football match. But 3 Nutella sandwiches at half-time doesn't sound like a very ideal diet.
No, it doesn't. But listen, I'm hoping he's made them for his mates as well. Let's give him a bit of a doubt.
That's the only get out of jail there. You're absolutely right, yeah. If he's dishing around Nutella sandwiches, Dan, that's all right. But it's one of those, isn't it, Mark? It's a disappointing goal to concede because it's so early. But like Zach said, the pass from Bernadette is unbelievable. It takes, I think, a little bit of a nick off Rudiger, the finish from Chiesa. I might be being a little bit unkind to Chiesa there. It's a brilliant finish. But like we said, moments like that change games.
They do. That is absolutely right. And I think from start to finish, when the ball was knocked long, just the intent to make something happen, to get on the end of the ball, the movement from Bernadeschi, and then obviously Chiesa making the run. I mean, it all just fell into place nicely. And one after another, it was almost like a domino effect. They were just that little bit quicker to react. And then moments like that, after a break, you come out, players are still... they're still digesting the information. They're a little bit possibly thinking about substitution that's been made. Ben Chilwell's come on. They're a little bit of switching off. And it's moments like that. Listen, it was a great goal, though. Great movement and great goal.
He's one of those players. He's a special player. I know Pat never mentioned it on commentary, Dan, but he is a very, very good player. We saw the best out of him at the Euros for Chiesa as well. But that's the kind of moment, isn't it, that we feared before the game, because Juventus do have these players that can do something brilliant, and just a moment changes it.
Yeah, it was just a flash. They were just slightly faster to every ball, and their reactions were fast, and we got caught in between moments, and they were just straight onto it. 10 seconds, and everything that you just talked about at half time is not so relevant anymore, because you need to really force it, and it forces Chelsea into a bit of a difficult position, because we start to try and force a game that we didn't even really want to be under pressure to force.
No, completely right. There's some more reaction then coming in to the game this evening on social media. Chelsea really lacking anyone to beat a man or stretch playing behind. It's all in front of Juventus. 5 completed take-ons from all that possession. 1 through ball, just nothing to get around or behind the low block from James. Zach, it's a fair point, and I think that was the reason that Thomas Tuchel made the 3 changes, bringing on Trevor Chalobah, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, because he's mentioned there about players taking on. That's what Callum does best. Through balls and carrying the ball is what Ruben does best. And I think when all 3 of those players came on, it did change the game again. And I don't think anyone could have begrudged us if we'd have nicked one at the end.
I think once we made those substitutions, it was very much all Chelsea. It was just us dominating. I think Pat kind of said it in commentary quite well, that we had to get to the byline. We were putting way too many crosses early in the field, and for Juventus, that's easy to defend unless it's the perfect ball, which we have seen. Azpilicueta's done that earlier this season, but for us, we needed to get to the byline. And the second Callum Hudson-Odoi came on and Ruben came on, those two connected brilliantly. Ruben's ability to kind of take on a man and see that space and play the ball into that space for Kanté to run onto was fantastic. And I think, in those last 20-25 minutes, we probably were unfortunate not to have created a better chance or to have scored a goal from it. I think Ruben has really, over the past couple of games, gone up ranks in this Chelsea side, from a player that maybe was just thinking would be a squad rotation player at best to someone that actually can have quite an important role. And it was good to see as well him be tackled by these Juve players and get back straight up again. I think that was always quite the worry with his injury, that if he got tackled badly, he may be staying on the floor. But he got back up and he looked brilliant tonight.
He's one of those players, Mark, isn't he, that we've seen flashes of with Callum. He was desperately unlucky with the injury that he got a little while ago, just as he seemed to be kind of getting to that level that we know he can get to. He's such a young man, and I know we mentioned this probably on the show with you last year, but he's got so much potential and so much ability that for him, it feels like the most important thing is he just plays football. And especially when he comes on, every time he gets the opportunity, you see him in bursts what he's so good at, which is getting on the ball and driving at players. It must be terrifying for a defender to see 20 minutes coming on, you've got someone of his pace to change the game. So it's got to be a positive from a Chelsea perspective that he's getting to that level again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what you want. I mean, he's a like you mentioned there, hugely talented player. He was someone that obviously with the injury had that setback. It's about now trying to get back the rhythm, the momentum, getting games under his belt. I mean, also finding the balance and not trying to overdo it. Not trying to be too predictable, always to try and take on someone and get past them and then try and look to get the ball in. I mean, sometimes you've got to do the early pass and make the movement, because the give and go is such a difficult thing to also defend against. But you're right, last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, bring on a player with that pace, with that trickery, they certainly know they've got their hands full.
I suppose similarly as well, Mark, with Ruben Loftus-Cheek, obviously spent some time on loan at another former one of your clubs in Fulham last year, but it's a very different system to fit in here as well, isn't it? And for Ruben, we've all had this conversation over the years that you could have probably fit him in about 5 or 6 different positions because he's got that stature and those different character traits for different positions. You can see him, he carries the ball well for a deeper midfielder. He's got an eye for a pass, so you want him a little bit closer to goal maybe, but every time that he's come on this season, whether it be as a 10, as an 8 or a 6, he's looked brilliant. He's another one that, I suppose, for Ruben now, you just want more minutes for him because you can see that he's getting back to his best.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's what's been key for him is being 100% fit, having that time away from the club to get games under his belt. At Fulham, I thought it was a really difficult challenge for him because obviously when you go to a club like Fulham, the type of players they've got, recently promoted, you haven't got the same quality around you. You haven't got players making the same runs. It's more difficult. You end up starting to do things that you possibly wouldn't normally do. At Chelsea, he looks electric because he's got that give and go. He's got that ball control. He's got players making runs. And like you said, he's got the eye to play them.
He's shown he can make the difference, Dan. Does he get a start at the weekend?
I don't want to guess because every time I guess I get it wrong. But for me, he's been a shining light for the last couple of games. He is a player that has got it all, and he's brave on the ball. You know, he gets it. Once that ball is to feet, he's strong enough to be able to protect it and have a look, or he'll just drive past you. So I was very impressed with him today. I felt like if something was going to happen, it was going to happen through him.
Zach, what's more important at the weekend now? Is it a performance or a result?
Both. Both, to be quite frank. Obviously, Chelsea fans having lost to Man City, now Juve, it's a game that we, even if whatever the results were those, we'd be expecting to win against Southampton anyway. And so I think the last season when we played them here didn't go as well, if I remember correctly. But yeah, no, I think whatever happens, a result and a performance, a good one, I think, come back, try and score as many goals as possible, a dominant one, and one that maybe makes the league go, oh, OK, they've had their blip now, they're on to bigger and better things.
I suppose that's the thing as well, Mark, isn't it? The fact that we've got an international break coming up. If you get a good result and a good performance at the weekend, these two results in midweek and the Saturday before are buried because it will be 3 weeks on before you play in the Premier League again. So there is that as well going into it. You can almost kind of dust these aside and everyone goes, OK, Chelsea are back now if you get a good result at the weekend and a good performance. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, listen, it was Man City and Juventus. So, you know, two very, very good sides. You're right, though. You're only as good as your last game. It's about the next game, putting out the performance. And once you do that, get back to winning ways with a good performance, people start to say exactly that. Right, that's that blip finish. Chelsea are on and upwards again.
Absolutely right. Loads coming up, and obviously tonight as well. Good result for Chelsea women. They are into the semi-final of the FA Cup. 4-0 win this evening, and there'll be an Instagram live for their next game against Brighton. So make sure you keep an eye on that one. This is what's coming up on the fifth stand-up. Thomas Tuchel's press conference ahead of our Premier League fixture on Friday afternoon. Then 1:55 at Chelsea against Southampton. Matchday live here at the Bridge. Looking forward to that one. Mark, thank you so much for all your input tonight, mate. It's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you very much for that. Enjoy Spain as well. Hopefully you can get a few more rounds in and the weather keeps out for you. So thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much. Dan, brilliant as always. Zach, likewise, mate. Superb as always. Unfortunately, not the result we were after, but thank you very much for joining us. We go again Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your week.